Okay, everyone, we are about to start the presentation. Just a few things. Please note that attendees are in listen-only mode, and that means that you can submit your questions in the questions window. Also, please note that a recording of this presentation, including the slides, will be sent in about a day or two. So again, this is, next slide.
Sorry.
No worries. So yes, you all are here for automating billing processes on the BBP for NextGen users. And our host today is Betsy Anderson, and she is a pro. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Betsy.
Thank you, Alexis, for the introduction. And I want to thank all the attendees for making time to join us today. So the background business processor, commonly referred to as the BBP, is a very powerful tool that comes with your NextGen application with no additional fees. It's often forgotten about after implementation. So I'm going to cover many different ways the BBP can automate some of the day-to-day activities performed by your billing team. So in the billing department, there are routine activities that occur on a daily or maybe a weekly basis. And the BBP can help us streamline those steps. Some of the things I'll cover today is you can set payment batches to post on the BBP. We can process pending charges if you're using the charge holding tank. We can use it to bill the encounters to create the claims. We can create the EDI files for all the form types, as well as print the paper claims. We can print letters. We can create patient statements, whether you print them or you create a file to export to a third party. We can use it to import our claim acknowledgements and our claim status. You can use it to import your ERRA files that are coming in from your clearinghouse. Use it to automatically apply the Unapplied encounter credits and set your month-end reporting package to run. All right, so to get started, once we're in the background business processor, we would simply right-click to create a package. So we start with the package, we give it a name. You have notification options if you want it to notify upon completion or if it failed. So in that dropdown, you'll have different options to notify. And then we can indicate the email address, have multiple people emailed by just simply putting a comma between the two emails. And then you have to select the BBP server that you want it to run on. You may have more than one or just one. So it's important with the BBP, we need to make sure that our jobs that are running have time to run. So it can only run one thing at a time. So if you have multiple, you have a little more flexibility, but you need to select the server that it's going to run from. Okay. Now within that package, we can have multiple jobs. So in this example, I have my electronic billing and print claims. And so when I right-click to create a new job, we can, I'll get to that on the next slide. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So you put them in the order in which you want them to run. So first I would bill my encounters, and then I would process the claims by the pending paper claims or the electronic. Should you have a job fail, you can select it to queue it up and on demand run that job again. All right. So in this dropdown, you can see all the different types of jobs that can be set up on the BBP. There are more, but you start by selecting the job you're interested in setting up. Based on that job that you select at the top, the settings will then populate down below. Our memorized report options. So we have to, so first we memorize a report in practice management, right? And then we need to think about what type of report is this and where do I want it to run from? Do I want it to run from the application itself? An example of that may be if your front desk is still printing out those appointment schedules in the morning, we could set the BBP up to have that automatically print for them before they're even in the office. And I probably want to run that from the application. as opposed to maybe my month-end reports that are a little more database intensive, I would want to point those over to the report server. Once we have our package created and our jobs included, then we can set up our schedules. So we have options to run maybe every weekday, or my month-end package, I would just want to run it once a month on the first day of the month. So we have different options to be able to set up in the intervals in which this package will run. On the history tab, this is where we can see how long it's taking for a job to run, the items, the number of items that were processed. If there is an error, you can highlight the line item, and in the gray section below, it would give us details. Those details often come with an error number, and the success community is great as a first reference point, because many times you'll find exactly what the issue was just by searching the success community. By default, it will only show the last 7 days, but you can go up to a max of 365 days to see the history of the package and the job. All right. So with our batch posting, our payments, when we're done, we still have to balance our batch in the application. But we can right-click and select it to go to the BBP, and you'll see the green check mark there that indicates I've already balanced my batch and I want the BBP to post it. Some of our larger batches, when you right-click and post, our end users are just watching the screen run, right? So you can just set it to go to the BBP. If there's a path that you're exporting your Excel report to, we can set that up in the job as well. So it just saves a little bit of time. And here's an example of setting up the batch posting. So my job type is batch posting, and I've selected a path for that batch posting report to go to should I need to reference it again. And you also have the option of saving a snapshot. So for the batch posting, I can set that up to run every weekday in intervals. So you could set it at the end of the day or in intervals, depending on when you want those cleaned out of that window, the batch posting window. All right, process pending charges. So if you have the holding tank turned on in PM, they go to a holding tank, and somebody has to go and release those in order to start the billing process. So throughout this presentation, I'm going to show what it looks like when you're doing it manually, and then what it would look like if you set it on the BBP. So this is just a screenshot of the process pending charges. And here's my job that I've set up, and I have date parameters. So I always want to go from the earliest possible date, right? So if I had a provider who put in a late charge, I want to be able to pick that up and get it out the door. But maybe I want to give my providers a 3-day grace period before I'm dropping those charges in. So you have complete control over the time frame in which you're going to let those charges drop, or if there's only certain physicians or locations that you don't review. I know there are many places that coding reviews the charges before they drop them. So, but depending on your workflow, if you have providers or locations that really are just really clean and you can let them go, you could at least set those up on the BBP to let those drop in for the billing to begin. All right, our next step, our charges are in, we need to bill our encounters. So currently they should be selecting rebill, unbilled, and I don't want to include records without charges, right? And here on the BBP, I can do exactly that. I can do my rebill, unbilled. Most of the options, well, the options that we have in that previous window in the application are here as well. So if you want to build different financial classes, or you only want to build the primary claims on the BBP, the secondary, you want somebody to still review, we can set those parameters up. Again, I have date ranges, and I can export this claim production. So this is where we get the red and the green, maybe blue on our report. So you can export that Excel file, and this one allows you to also save a snapshot, because we still need somebody to go and review anything that's in red to make sure that that claim gets out the door. But then your staff is working by exception. Again, they're not sitting watching the screen roll, waiting for that final report to come up. All right, print pending claims. So after our claims are billed, they either go to our paper bucket or our electronic bucket. So somebody should be coming in and printing your claims on a daily basis. We can set that up on the BBP as well. Again, we have control over if you just want to print the primary here and let somebody handhold the secondary or tertiary. You can define which drawer it goes to. We do need to set up a job for each form type. So if you're printing 1500s, UBs, ADAs, you could have one package called print claims and then 3 jobs within that package. All right, create our EDI file. So we've already dumped our paper bucket. Now we need to create our EDI file. So you're going in, you're selecting your clearinghouse, your form type, and you're processing that and saving it to a shared drive to then send to your clearinghouse. We can do that too. So just the same as with our print claims or EDI file, I could have one EDI package that then creates a file for my 1500s, my ADA, my UB, and you can choose the parameters that you want to set. Again, save it out to a shared drive where then you would still upload that to the clearinghouse. So here's an example where I just have one package, billing and print paper claims. So I'm billing my encounters, I'm printing my claims, I'm creating my EDI files. We just need to set up a job to match each of the clearinghouses that you use and the form types. So throughout the day, your team may be sending letters, encounter letters, account letters, up to be printed at the end of the day. And they would go in and print forms, letters, and go through each of these steps. Well, we can do that here as well. So you create a job for each letter type. You select the printer you want it to go to and which letter to print. So here's just an example of my print letters. Again, one package, but multiple jobs within that package. And your statements. So whether you're printing your statements daily, weekly, hopefully at least weekly, not monthly, but because all of our parameters for patient statements to be printed are set in our practice preferences. When we go in to print our statements, that information is populated for us here, and we can just click print or export if you're sending them to a third party. So we can do that here as well. So we would mirror the settings you have in your practice preferences for the minimum statement amount, the maximum statement amount, all those settings. We would redefine that within our job and then schedule this to run in whatever interval that you choose. And that's what this slide is. So I have my patient statements printing every weekday at 6 in the morning. Acknowledgement imports. So when you submit your claims to the clearinghouse, they deliver to you a 999 file and a 277. You may be manually downloading these and importing them into your application today. And if you're not, that may be something that you want to look into. And I'm going to talk about what those files will give back to us. So if I were doing it myself manually, I would have to go to File, Process, Acknowledgement, Import, and to update the status request. For my 277, it's File, Process, Claim Status, Import, and then I would pull in my file. Excuse me. Okay, so we can set this all up on the BBP. So if you have it downloaded to a specified folder, we can set up the BBP to grab those files and automatically import them into the application for you. And Currently, NextGen doesn't have a way to archive those out, but your IT team should be able to set up a schedule task to move them out of the folder you're downloading them to an archive folder. So that way you're not re-importing the same files over and over. But it's useful information, and I don't know if you can see how tiny this screen is, but in the bottom, the acknowledgement status is my 999s. That is the clearinghouse recognizing that they have accepted that claim file. The first two columns are my claim status. So that comes directly back from the payer. So you could run a report to see if it's been finalized and payment was made, or if it was rejected by the payer. And here at the second line from the bottom, it's missing or invalid information. So we can run a report on that data that's been imported. Another place that we can see the 999 and 277 information is in our electronic claim lookup window. Of course, it only is for electronic, but I can see I have a column for acknowledgement that they were accepted and my claim status, category, and description here. Also, we have a decision point. So when you import the 277 files, you can choose if you want the message to be displayed just on the financial, the clinical history notes tab, sorry, and in the chart note, so it can just go there. Or if you check the box in practice preferences, then that can append into your encounter notes. So it's just in how you would add a note to an encounter. This would just add the information there. Some of the payers are great and they even return a claim number. This can help you if you have a denial for timely filing and you can say, no, I have this claim number that you accepted the claim on this date. Not all payers return claim numbers, but it can be useful information to have at your fingertips. All right, ERRA posting. So again, you're downloading your ERRA files from the clearinghouse to a shared drive, whether you're importing them one at a time, we're going file, process, ERRA posting, or you're doing a directory import, we can set that over onto the BBP as well. Again, we would just set up the job to point to the ERRA files, have it import them into the application for us. We can export the posting report to a shared drive. And here again, we can save a snapshot that can be easily be reviewed by whoever needs to make sure everything got posted. When you're setting up your ERRA package, we need to create separate folders. So you have your main folder that you would put your ERRA files in with your first download. That's where the BBP is going to read from. After it reads the files, it needs a folder to move them to. So unlike our 277 and 999 files, NextGen will move them out of the folder for us automatically. So we have to set up a successful file, a failed folder, successful folder, failed folder, partially processed folder. And the system, depending on how it was able to handle it, will move it to its appropriate destination. All right, our process unapplied encounter credits. So from the front of the application, we can go into File, Processes, Unapplied Encounter Credits. NextGen gives us 3 radio buttons to choose from and an encounter date range. So the first one we'll find anywhere where the patient amount is exactly equal to the unapplied amount. The second radio button is just where there's unapplied with a patient balance, could be greater or less than my unapplied. And lastly, there's view unapplied with no patient balance. With the first 2 radio buttons, we can just simply click the process button and we'll select our items, click process, and NextGen will automatically take care of those for me and put them into an unposted batch. So then I can just go post the batch and I don't have to address each one of these individually. Again, that option is only, process option is only available to us on the first 2 radio buttons. because the last one, there's no patient balance and the application doesn't know what to do with it. But it can be useful just to identify, or you can run your unapplied report. But the BBP, we can set up those first two radio buttons, or they would be in separate jobs. So we set up the job where patient amount equals the unapplied, and then another job where there's an unapplied with a patient balance. We do also have the option to automatically set the BBP to post it. So if you'd like to do that, or you could just have it where it creates the batch for you and somebody is still going to review that. Again, we have date ranges here. So I would default to the earliest possible date. If there's an unapplied out there from 6 months ago, I still need to resolve it. And then to whatever day you'd like. If it's today, 2 days ago, you have control of that as well. Month-end reports. So hopefully your practice has a suite of month-end reports. So your monthly changes in AR, your charges, your adjustments, your payments, and you have those all memorized by process date, because all our financial reports are by process date, and you save it with the word last month. So as long as we have all of our memorized reports using the words, say last month, we can then set up a job for each individual memorized report. So that way we don't have to think about it. If you set it to run on the report server, you know that's always last night's backup. So we don't need to think about generating these. So you set up your package, you include each job, one job for each memorized report, and then of course, I don't have a screenshot of it, set your time frame, right, on our schedules. We've seen that a couple times through the presentation. You would set it up to run whenever you'd like. Now, if you're one of those practices that closes on the 5th business day or the 3rd business day, you could still set up all of your reports, still create your package, and then somebody would just need to come and queue the package up when you're done with your month, right? So if we closed yesterday, I can come in today, do a queue now, let it run, and I don't have to think about it. BBP performance. So I mentioned that one job can run at a time. So sometimes when you're troubleshooting, you need to kind of research, what is taking so long? Which job is tripping up the other job? From within the application, we can go to our reports, general, and our BBP schedule, and just review and see each of the package names, the job, and how long it's taking, and whether it failed or it succeeded, so that way we can make our adjustments accordingly. I feel like I went through that really quickly. I apologize. Do we have any questions?
I am checking that now. I'm going to give people a second to see if they have anything. But yeah, thank you, Betsy. That was good information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope you'll take that back and some food for thought. And maybe not everything can go to the BBP, but hopefully you found at least one thing that can help you in your daily process.
So I do have one from Amy, and she says, for month-end reports, we also run year-to-date for our fiscal year, which is 6/1 through 5/31. Can a job be set up for this?
If you can match the word, so I know there are some fiscal year options in that dropdown. You know how you have today, tomorrow, current month, last month. If I can't recall it, I know there's something about fiscal. If you can memorize it with the words, then you could then set it up over here and just kick it off when you're ready to. But I'm not sure if that your exact scenario is in the word dropdown.
Okay, let me see if she has a response for that or if anyone else has anything. Okay, how is a snapshot different than a memorized report?
Yes, so couple, well, I'm not sure how many versions ago, you know, NextGen gave us the little camera icon that's in our report toolbar, and that's a snapshot. So when you save a snapshot, it's truly a picture of the data that was returned at the time the report was run, as opposed to a memorized report, like we were just discussing with, where you set up the parameters, your columns, your filters, everything like the core of what you want to run. But the data that's returned on that report is forever changing, or potentially forever changing, right? So a snapshot is truly just a picture of what was on that report. If I want you to look at it, I can save a snapshot and you'll see exactly what I had. You can't change, it won't allow you to change any filters. It's just truly a picture of what was on the report when I ran it.
Okay, thank you for that. That was from a Jennifer. Okay, one more. What do I do if an ERA file lands in the failed folder?
Yes, so inevitably, sometimes we have files that just can't cleanly import. So it's something, the failed folder is something that you would want to monitor on a daily basis. And if you do have one that fails, then you would just simply go back to old school, right? You go to your file, process, ERA posting. Sometimes there's errors with the file and it's just a bad file. Sometimes you'll get a pop-up error when you're importing it and you have to say okay, and the batch will still post, but the BBP can't click OK. So, so you just simply go back and import it in from the application, create an archive folder, and move that out so that way you can continue to monitor your failed folder and keep it clean.
Okay, thank you. And just want to check and see if there are any additional questions before we close it out. Doesn't look like it. Oh, yes, this is being recorded. That was a question I could answer, Betsy. Yes,
Okay, you
Sheila,
got
this
that one.
is being recorded, and we will send this out either a day or two after today. Okay, well, so thank you all for attending this presentation, and thank you, Betsy, for taking the time to present this valuable information. If you have any follow-up questions after this, you can feel free to contact us at our basic info@medtechsolutions.com email address, or you can contact your specific account manager or business development exec. Well, thank you all.
Thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Have a good day.